Hi all, I'm Kristin Oropeza, Education Marketing and Community Manager here at Common Sense Education. We are back for another episode of helping educators get prepared for another school year. Today I have Jamie Nunez with me. Jamie is our Western Regional Manager. Good morning, Jamie. How's it going?
What's the word, Kristen? How you doing? Hey, educators out there. Another beautiful start to the year. Happy day to you all.
It's so exciting this the time of year and getting back into classrooms. So Jamie, AI is a really hot topic right now in education, and many of the schools and districts that we are working with have been asking for support in this area, especially as it relates to acceptable use policies, which a lot of districts are having to rethink now with this new technology coming. And already in classrooms sometimes. You you recently had the chance to host one of our EdWeb webinars, and you introduced folks to some really great resources for this. Can you share a little bit more about those resources you created and why they might be useful to educators or schools?
Yeah, absolutely. So we know that tech agreements sound a little bit boring. They're like one of the 15 documents that a child has to sort of sign before they're able to access any type of technology. But I like to actually see them, and the way I'd like to convey tech agreements are really like this roads or rules to how to navigate the engagements of technology. It's like things like traffic lights that you would see in a car, or there might be experiences where you just have a foundation for how you talk ingredients to a recipe. This is a tech agreement that is more in line to what your students might be seeing online. These are very creative, animated. You'll notice in the document here that we use simplified language. This is not information that's written by a lawyer. Now, you might say, well, Jamie, um, I need to actually use and use my school's admin official tech agreement. What we're hoping for is for you to actually not change that agreement, but to modify it so it addresses the realities and the needs that your students might have. So here's what it has. You can tell right away that it includes some iconography, some nice visually enhancing sort of images that can work, or GIFs. We've also added for these tech agreements some very basic statements that your students can actually resonate with. So this is a template that we created on Canva that you can then use to replicate your own tech agreements for your class.
This is great, Jamie. Like, when I first saw this during the EdWeb, I thought, as a former classroom educator, right? You've been in schools as well. Like, those acceptable use policies are so one boring to look at, and it's very text heavy, and not really like what students can understand half the time. What parents can understand half the time. And so having this as a visual, where it's relevant to students, it could be printed out and posted in the classroom, right? Referred to throughout the school year, and it's in language that kids understand, I think is just so important, and it's pretty, right?
100%. Yeah. Like I'm thinking about students that might need visual reminders. I'm thinking about students that might, before you engage in a particular lessons, you might reference to. So you might reference the image. And having pretty documents, as we know, if you've ever been an elementary school teacher, really work for your kids. And then having visually enhancing documents that you can maybe share before you entertain a unit would be helpful. So I can share a few use cases. So at the very beginning of the school year, I might introduce your tech agreement, your sort of boring old document. Shout out to those school districts that have a beautifully enhanced or use nice fonts in their documents, but this is entirely different here. We want to make sure that in those first 10 to 20 days, you can introduce the core concepts and the rules that you hope your students will actually get out. The second use case is this might be a really helpful way to engage your families. And so you send this out as an email, you send this out as a printout, and families know right away what those guidelines or those guardrails for using technology might look like. And finally, if you're grappling with issues like phone use, or you're grappling with ways to incorporate AI, if you have policies in place, these are really simplified documents, visually enhancing documents that you can use to specify a specific way, or to specify a way in which you use things like AI, or whether or not you're going to be using cell phones in your classroom. So all in all, just a real simple doc that can actually enhance and help to promote the guidelines that you want to establish around tech use.
I love that it's in Canva too, and Canva was just rated one of our Common Sense selection winners at ISTE this past summer. And the fact that, Canva right now is being used in many schools right across the United States, and I see this too as being such a living document, like an editable document, like getting students involved in the process too, and having them create, and be part of that process. When thinking about these tech agreements, I think it's going to be so helpful for educators.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I do envision a time where you can use one of those statements or one of those line items that you have in your tech agreement and really have conversations with your kids about what it looks like. So I love the fact that we can use a tool like Canva, because it does make the experience very accessible. Another thing you can do is, if you do have access and your kids do have access to a tool like Canva, you can certainly have their input. Maybe they can encourage the types of visual or iconography that goes into the document. I've seen educators that have used this and had their students actually create their own agreements with their peers around collaboration online. So there's all sorts of unique ways that you can take a simple document like a tech agreement and bring it to life. In fact, the fact that I can actually even engage in talking about tech agreements in a creative way just tells me that, we're in a new age of technology and use in the classroom. So
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jamie, for sharing this great resource. We'll make sure to have the link linked here at the bottom, and then in the notes once this gets onto YouTube. But thank you for being here and for providing some inspiration and creativity as teachers get prepared to go back to school.
yeah, much love, Kristin. Good luck, teachers. Enjoy it. Have a beautiful rest of your start of your year.